Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You know what perhaps the most annoying aspect of my job is, Grayson?
Dealing with 16 and 17-year-olds.
Okay, well, I mean, that is fundamentally, at times, quite annoying. I'm thinking something a little bit more specific than that. And I was reminded of how annoying this responsibility is last night. And that is the task of tweet decryption. Tweet decryption. Because every time an Oklahoma coach sends out a tweet that could remotely be construed as significant or concealing some sort of hidden meaning, I have people asking me a million different ways, DM, text, message board, etc. What does this mean? Did we get a commit? And last night,
Talking about Arbuckle.
Ben Arbuckle became the first Oklahoma coach in quite some time to engage in this behavior. He tweeted out Boomer, accompanied by the one emoji, in essence, the singular finger pointing towards the sky. And immediately, like within seconds, I kid you not, I have people hitting me up in every way imaginable, on every platform imaginable, asking what Ben Arbuckle's tweet is about. And it fit, like, I'll be honest, it's one of those instances where you're like, wow, this really is my job, isn't it? My job is to go find out whether there's any secret meaning behind Ben Arbuckle's very basic, very boilerplate tweet.
What if he just likes where he lives and likes where he works?
And you know what?
And he wants to express it.
After I dug into it, because I had to, that's pretty much what I found out. Just a random, standard Boomer tweet from Ben Arbuckle, who in general is super excited to be at the University of Oklahoma and enjoying his new gig as the offensive coordinator. Did it signify anything in terms of a commitment or impending news? No. However, Jim Nagy, Oklahoma's general manager, did not help matters when he quote tweeted Ben Arbuckle's Boomer tweet with a pair of eyes. And so I'm over there on the message boards on OUinsider.com insisting to the members there that, folks, but please don't get it twisted. This does not signify a new commitment. I know what you all were used to for years and years under Lincoln Riley. You know what? This is all Lincoln Riley's fault, isn't it?
I'll tell you who else's fault
this is. Where this originated.
I'll tell you whose fault it is. Patty Gasso's. Because does she not do this when there's an impending commitment happening?
I think Lincoln Riley was the original offender. And even if he wasn't, I'm going to choose to pin it on him.
I was about to say, we can pin the blame on him. But ever since I've gotten here to Norman, that's been how you know softball's getting a new player, because Patty Gasso drops a tweet like that.
Yes, and Patty Gasso always has that sort of bat signal whenever she gets a new commitment.
Exactly.
Lincoln Riley's bat signal, if you will, was just a pair of eyes, similar to what Jim Nagy tweeted out. And so for years, Oklahoma fans were accustomed to expecting a new commit whenever Lincoln Riley tweeted out a pair of eyes.
3-star Glenn from Nashville says, great, our coaching staff is trolling the fan base.
And unfortunately, that's going to be some people's reaction. Well, why did Ben Arbuckle get everybody riled up for no reason? Ben Arbuckle's 29 years old, and he's been here for 7 months. I'm not sure he really understands. And maybe he does, and maybe it was perfectly intentional. Maybe he wanted to rile people up. I don't know. I'm not willing to dig that deep to find out what Ben Arbuckle's motivations were in just tweeting Boomer. But from what I gathered, it has no significance as far as recruiting goes.
Four-star Sooner Bump says, "Bite your tongue, Pickle. Nothing is Patty's fault." My bad. My bad. Didn't mean to insult the queen. That's all. My bad.
Yeah, here on the Ref Sports Radio Network, the home of Sooner fans, if given the choice between blaming Patty Gasso and blaming Lincoln Riley, we are choosing to blame Lincoln Riley.
Obviously. I didn't think there was blame going on here, given the the lack of gravity of this whole situation.
The show today is brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Family-owned and operated. The best service technicians and friendly service advisors out there. Half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Let them get you set up with a GMC. Whether it's a truck or an SUV, GMC's got some of the most reliable vehicles on the road. So whether it's a brand new vehicle or service for your current one, Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno has you taken care of. Evan from Blanchard said, Arbuckle and Nagy saw Troy Everett's pick and were giving him props.
I was also supposed to bring that up to you.
Oh, no, man.
Did you see Jaron Kanek today?
So somehow that, like... It was a full 24 hours in the news cycle before I realized that there was anything to that Troy Everett tweet. Because I saw the Troy Everett tweet, and let's just say I was looking where people typically look when they see photos like that. And I just kind of glanced right past it and kept scrolling, not realizing that there was a little bit more to it.
The only reason I realized very quickly is because I saw the Jaron Kanek reaction first, so I knew something was wrong.
405 listener says, doesn't Skip Johnson also do a bat signal? Yes, he does. He tweets, "Looky here." That's his signal that Oklahoma has a new baseball commit.
Evan from Blanchard also said it's the Hayes Fawcett effect.
The Hayes Fawcett effect?
Which
yeah, that's
might
pretty
be true.
That's pretty true. That's even more annoying because whenever Hayes Fawcett tweets out something cryptic, I mean, it could be about one of 50 different P4 programs, and Oklahoma fans are like, is this about us?
It also can be something that'll be announced in 30 minutes or 30 days.
Correct. Genuinely one of the most obnoxious aspects of the job. But hey,
I like Hayes Fawcett though.
Comes with the territory. Oh yeah, Hayes is fine. A 405 listener says it's obvious that the Arbuckle tweet means Peyton Houston committed. Wouldn't that be great? Don't think that's happening until midseason though. And you know, we were talking about it end of last hour, and it is SEC Team Takeover Day, presented by Landers CDJR. Here on the Ref. It's Mississippi State Takeover Day for what that is worth.
I feel
Somebody
like
on the text line earlier said this is the only thing Mississippi State is going to be taking over in 2025, which is probably true.
I feel like Mississippi State Day is trip down memory lane.
Pretty much. Steely telling old Jackie Sherrill stories. Old Wade Walker stories. But we mentioned it at the end of last hour that Oklahoma does have a pretty clear path to being 5-0 going into the Cotton Bowl. You play 2 tough games out of your first 5. Your 2 tough games are interspersed with 3 cupcake matchups: Illinois State, Temple, and Kent State. And then in between, you have Michigan and Auburn. Get both of those games at home, though. And so if Oklahoma does something as simple as just win their first 2 home games, then in overwhelming likelihood, you're looking at a team that's going into the Cotton Bowl 5-0, and at that point, I would be stunned if Peyton Houston isn't a Sooner. And there will be others at that point that start to take notice of what Oklahoma's doing on the gridiron and the rebound from such a... I don't even know. There are a lot of adjectives I could use. None of them seem to do justice to the misery that was 2024 for Oklahoma football fans. But to recover from that season by starting 5-0, regardless of what happens in the Cotton Bowl, and I do think Oklahoma is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Texas in that football game. I think Texas in the offseason has been like a double-digit favorite. But I truly do believe Oklahoma is going to be able to give Texas all they can handle in that football game. And that should be a very evenly matched contest as opposed to some of the ones that we've seen in recent years where, for instance, 2022, Oklahoma doesn't even have a quarterback on the roster who can complete a forward pass with regularity in that contest. But regardless of what happens in the Cotton Bowl between Oklahoma and Texas, if this team starts 5-0, they're going to be in really, really good shape to pick up some serious steam on the recruiting trail, as we have discussed. And the linchpin in all of that is the Peyton Houston recruitment. However, Grayson, per my colleague, Steve Wiltfong, the great one, over at Rivals and On3, as of yesterday, it's shaping up to be a two-team race for Jake Kreul, the four-star defensive end out of IMG Academy. Now, he cut his list to 3 a couple weeks back. OU, Texas, Ole Miss. But according to Steve's report yesterday for Rivals, it's looking like an OU-Texas battle down the stretch. A good old Red River showdown for an elite pass rusher from the state of Florida, of all places. Like, it's not uncommon that you would see OU and Texas vying for a recruit, typically from the Lone Star State. And I guess not without exception, a kid from the state of Oklahoma as well. I mean, it was OU Texas down the stretch for Danny Okoye a couple of years back. But more often than not, the recruiting battles, the heads-up battles that OU and Texas are waging are centered around Lone Star State prospects.
Generally.
But here you have one of the finest prospects in the entire country, a kid from the Sunshine State, a kid with offers from pretty much every major football institution in the Southeast. And down the stretch in his recruitment, he's narrowed the field to OU and Texas in a recruitment that could very well be decided by the outcome in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, I think if you're Oklahoma, the hope is that it doesn't take that long because you lead right now. And when you lead, you don't want it to last forever. You want to be able to put the hard sell on the kid and close the deal as expeditiously as possible. But there's certainly a world where in October, Jake Kreul is imminently expected to commit, and that timetable happens to fall on or around the week of OU Texas. The stakes are raised.
Oh, they're definitely raised. But I think the stakes for Oklahoma's first 5 games are raised too. And we don't say this enough, but I do truly believe that Oklahoma got a pretty big break here with how their schedule shakes out because they do not leave home outside of going to Temple, which, all right, great, cool, fine. But if they start 5-0, given that the Sooners have the relational advantage, I think, over Texas as it pertains to Jake Kreul, you have given the implication that this whole thing is solidified. Mm-hmm. Coaching staff seems to be on good footing. You're going to continue with the defensive continuity, which is a huge thing because Jake Kreul is a pass rusher. So you're showing stability for the first time in over 12 calendar months. So if you're 5-0, it may not mean as much to beat Texas as it pertains to Jake Kreul. I feel like I need to emphasize that last point. As it pertains to this recruitment, if you are 5-0 going into Red River, the outcome of that game may not matter as much because what you basically want to show this guy and really show your entire 2026 class is that we're going to be here next year and in 2027. We're going to be here to develop you like we have talked about. That's what you're trying to get accomplished as it pertains to high school recruiting in that first month. And that first month shakes out pretty favorable for that because you get Michigan at home and you get Auburn at home. You don't have to go to either of those places. So Oklahoma's in a really good spot here. And every time I look at the schedule and I see Kent State on October 4th, I want to throw up in my mouth because why is that game being played in freaking October?
Oh, you and me both, man. I actually said this last hour. I'm not a fan of the mid-season/late season SEC cupcakes.
It's the stupidest thing in college football scheduling.
Just front-load it all. Get the bye games out of the way in September.
Yes.
so that come October, November, we're playing meaningful football every single week.
Amen.
Ryan in Jacksonville says, can you throw out a couple guys who could be on quote-unquote flip watch or out of the blue 5 stars in 26 and 27 that we could be in for if we start winning this year? Well, look, the guys that are considered 5 stars in the 27 class, I mean, that's a very short list right now. Very short, because those guys are all rising juniors. So there may be guys that are currently of the 5-star persuasion in the 27 class that finish nowhere near that tier by the end of the cycle. And there are plenty of guys right now in the 27 class that are not currently occupying that tier that certainly will at some point before the end of the cycle. For instance, if going into his junior season I had brought up the name PJ Adibawara, no one would have known who that was because the kid had 0 offers at the time. Had absolutely no recruiting interest whatsoever. And then a year later, he was a 5-star defensive end committed to Oklahoma. So a lot can change between now and the end of the 2027 cycle, and a lot will change. But in 26, as far as 5 stars go, I don't really get the sense that there are any current 5-star recruits that Oklahoma is going to be in the mix to flip. An interesting name, and to be clear, I'm not touting this as a legit possibility. I don't expect this to happen. I'm not trying to drive up the expectations of anyone listening to this. But I do think there's certainly a world in which something could shake favorably here for Oklahoma. And this is all predicated upon whether or not Oklahoma lands Peyton Houston. Let's say, for the sake of the hypothetical, that Oklahoma locks down Peyton Houston sometime midseason, let's say October. There's a wide receiver right now, and a good one, in the 2026 cycle, who is very good friends with Peyton Houston and is currently committed to an institution that has become quite notorious in recent cycles for losing pledges down the stretch. Can you think of the prospect to whom I'm referring?
Are you referring to one Booby Feaster?
Yes, indeed. Booby Feaster, currently committed to USC.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just say November rolls around, for instance. Peyton Houston's committed to OU. Booby Feaster's coming to the realization that the money ain't there in LA the way he thought it was. And he's starting to look around. Oklahoma offered that kid back when he was in 8th grade. There's a relationship there, and a well-established relationship there. Now, by the end of his recruitment, Oklahoma really wasn't in the picture for the reasons that you might expect. But it's very interesting to consider what might happen with a kid like that, who, as I mentioned, is committed to a school that quite notably tends to hemorrhage commits down the stretch leading into signing day. And, he just so happens to have a real strong relationship with a guy at the quarterback position who has a ton of sway in his own right as a peer recruiter that may very well be committed to the Sooners before signing day for the 2026 class.
One last thing before we go to break. I know you're going to love this question. Mongo says, is OU still in the mix for Zayn Row?
Oh, for Zayn Row? So Zayn Row, for those that aren't familiar, 4-star defensive end in the 2027 class, was committed to Oklahoma for close to a year. Committed last April of 2024, decommitted, and chose to reopen his recruitment back in January. Is OU still in the mix? Absolutely. I have no idea where he's going to sign. I have no idea who leads for that kid. I have no idea what his top tier of schools consists of. There are some constants in his recruitment. Among them are Oregon, Oklahoma, and Georgia. But that kid has already taken a zillion visits. A zillion visits. And he will take a zillion more before he makes his final decision. So you're going to see Zayn Row visit a lot of different schools, including Oklahoma, and you're just going to have to resist the urge to get your hopes up over any of it until we get I guess until we get a sense of what his official visit slate is going to look like. Because at that point, you have a real crystallized, real solidified list of contenders. But until then, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that any school is quote-unquote trending or leading for Zayn Row, because that recruitment's just kind of been all over the place since he reopened it. David from Norman asked, where was Jake Kreul originally from before he enrolled at IMG? Still a Florida kid. He's from Orlando, so not that far away from Lake Bradenton, which is where IMG Academy is at. Florida kid, born and bred, but it looks like he's going to be either a Sooner or a Longhorn. That's one big-time commitment that Oklahoma is waiting on, hoping to pick up. There is another elite prospect that is expected to decide pretty freaking soon here, according to reliable individuals across the industry. And so we'll discuss that recruitment and more on the other side. Keep it here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Back after the break.
Every year, over 4.5 million people are attacked by dogs. Almost half of these victims are children. A dog attack doesn't inflict only physical scars. The invisible ones are often even worse.
Dog attacks can cause devastating lifetime injuries. They can shatter our sense of safety.
At McIntyre Law, we understand the emotional toll of a dog attack. We are here to guide you on your path to recovery step by step. If a dog attack has affected your family, call us at 405-777-7000.
Considering refinancing your mortgage? Now might be the perfect time to start planning. With rates on the move, Stride Bank can help you determine if you may be able to lower your monthly payments, shorten your loan term, or tap into your home's equity. Stride's expert mortgage advisors will work with you to tailor a solution that fits your needs. With local roots and national reach, Stride Bank is your go-to partner for all your banking needs. Stride Bank, your trusted financial partner since 1913. Find out more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
At Meals on Wheels of Norman, we deliver more than just meals. We deliver connection, compassion, and care to homebound seniors right here in our community. But we need your help. Volunteer drivers are the heart of what we do, and just a little of your time can make a big impact. Join our team, make a difference. Visit MealsOnWheelsNorman.com or contact us at 405-321-7272 to sign up as a volunteer and start serving smiles today. Are you looking for a luxury apartment for rent in Norman? The Falls at Brookhaven offers stunning 2- and 3-bedroom spacious floor plans with large walk-in closets, washer and dryer hookup, and a fabulous kitchen in a well-maintained, calm environment. From plush carpet to sleek stainless steel appliances to a pool, 24-hour fitness, and 2 dog parks, the Falls at Brookhaven has it all. Call our locally owned and operated community at 405-701-8233 or go online to thefallsatbrookhaven.com for a free tour and see what living in luxury is like.
The wait is almost over, and football is almost back. What better way to celebrate than with the Ref's 3rd annual Gridiron Giveaway? Live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Norman, just south of Highway 9 on Classen, on July 30th from noon to 7, as we give away 70 different teams from the power conferences. And those lucky enough to get one of the final 4 finishers in the college football playoff will get one of our 4 grand prizes, including a hotel and showplace theater package from Riverwind, a Ref tailgate package courtesy of Confidence Ford, a brand new smart TV brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings, and an OU ticket package courtesy of Jenna King. Even members of the Ref Army who don't get a team still get a chance at one of our many instant prizes, including a PlayStation 5 and a copy of EA Sports College Football 26, courtesy of Cavens Group. That's the Ref's Gridiron Giveaway at Buffalo Wild Wings in Norman on July 30th from noon to 7. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Life is full of big moments, and at OU Federal Credit Union, they are happy to help you make those moments happen. Thinking of buying a home? OUFCU offers mortgage loans with competitive rates and flexible terms. If you already own a home, their home equity loans can help you make those much-needed renovations or pay off high-interest debt. But it's not about the loans, it's about the people. Ready to make the next step toward your dreams? Visit OU Federal Credit Union today. Your home sweet loan is just around the corner. Member savings insured up to $250,000 by
together the Vanderbilt stuff. They did have a golden age. Not only did it precede World War II, it preceded the Dust Bowl.
Did it precede World War I?
Yes. It preceded.
Did it precede the 20th century?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's like, wow, how far back do we got to go here?
No, I think it preceded World War I. It also encompassed World War I and actually ran right up a couple of years before World War II.
I tell you, man, and there are a ton of OU football fans that do not want to hear this, just as there were a ton of Nebraska fans growing up that didn't want to hear it when I would tell them this. Man, you do not understand how fortunate you are to be a fan of a Blueblood football institution. Because you think you got it rough? You think 6-7, 2 out of 3 years is rough? Sure, by Oklahoma standards it is. But imagine life as a Mississippi State fan. Imagine life as a fan of the 129 other FBS programs that aren't Blue Bloods. Boy, would they kill to ensure that their program had the same level of sustained success as yours. Blue blood fan bases tend to get a little bit spoiled. I'm not ashamed to say that. It's true of Oklahoma. It's true of most every other blue blood fan base.
I mean, they're melting down in Tuscaloosa, and they won 9 games.
They won 9 games. Exactly. Alabama fans are going to be going through it for the next few years because they ain't getting Saban back. And because you ain't getting Saban back, you're not winning 6 national titles in the next 15 years. Sorry. Going to have to readjust expectations. So when Ben Arbuckle sent out his cryptic tweet last night, and it really wasn't a cryptic tweet unless you made it a cryptic tweet in your own head, but it was just standard boomer, pointing towards the sky, one finger emoji. I don't know what you call that. Would we call it ones up in Oklahoma tournament? I'm not really sure. But he sends out the tweet. And what most people figured the tweet was a subtle reference to was an impending commitment from 4-star Frisco Lone Star High School wide receiver Davian Groce. And Oklahoma has been pushing to land Davian Groce, on the verge of closing the deal with Davian Groce for the better part of 2 months since his official visit. From where I stood and where I still stand, Oklahoma was the leader going into OV season. They have remained the leader through and after OV season. And as we sit here on July 23rd, the expectation, according to my fine colleague at Rivals, Sam Spiegelman, who wrote an in-depth article on Groce's recruitment this morning over at Rivals.com. You can access it via OU Insider. The expectation is that Groce will come off the board before the end of the month of July. So do the math here. Today is July 23rd. There are 8 days left in the month of July. It stands to reason that we will have a decision from Davian Groce in the next 8 days. Mercifully, because we need some concrete recruiting news.
I mean, we did say this a weekend ago.
And I tell you, man, both Sam and I were hearing last, or maybe it was weekend before last, that, all right, like it's happening. It's happening. Groce is about to commit. And it didn't happen.
I also read that piece from Sam, too, and his mom's talking about how Davian is just all over the place. He doesn't know where he wants to go. That tracks as something that could last closer to the season, in my mind.
And there are folks that inevitably will ask if they aren't typing out these texts already on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. There are folks that will ask, really? Like, how on earth are you torn between Oklahoma, Baylor, Florida, and Houston? Come home to Soonerland, young man. That's all fine and well.
Well done.
But I think you understand why Baylor and Houston have remained in the mix. Florida has a pretty solid sell to a guy like that, especially because, as I mentioned in the past, they used the P word when he went down there for his official visit. That P word being Percy, as in Percy Harvin, which is what they see him being in a Gator uniform. But there are a lot of ties to Oklahoma, as we've discussed. His mom was quoted as saying Oklahoma is the one school, or maybe it wasn't his mom. A source close to the recruitment was quoted as saying Oklahoma is the one school that has not made a mistake.
Which, what does that mean?
In recruiting Groce.
What does that mean? They haven't made a mistake.
Recruiting can get messy.
Sure.
I'll try to keep this as broad as possible because it could encompass a variety of different things. The mistake that is being subtly referenced there on the parts of Baylor and Houston and Florida. It could be a lot of different things. Recruiting is really messy, especially when you're dealing with a guy in Groce that has been a big-time prospect for a long, long time, years. There's so much communication that occurs, so much time that elapses, so many visits that are taken, that almost inevitably at a certain point in the process, a kid or his parents or his agent or whoever it may be, they're going to get miffed about something or other. And sometimes it's consequential and sometimes it's not. For instance, like Daniel Akinkunmi, I remember this quite distinctly. When he was on his official visit to Oklahoma, and he was quoted as saying this in the aftermath. He said, that Friday, first day I was on my official visit, I was not feeling it at all. But then Saturday was great. Sunday was even better. Sunday was the day my mom and I decided this is the place. And so there are a zillion different tiny things that could be quantified as a mistake in the recruiting process. Sometimes it's on the part of an individual. Sometimes it's on the part of the university. Sometimes it's just as simple as a misunderstanding between the two parties. But if Oklahoma indeed has not made a mistake in recruiting Davian Groce, there's plenty of reason to feel confident that the Sooners are going to get the nod from the elite wide receiver prospect from down in North Texas, Frisco Lone Star High School. That said, as it feels like we have discussed on several different occasions now, the more we sit here and wait, the more time elapses as we await the decision from Groce, the more uneasy you have to feel as an Oklahoma fan because Oklahoma leads and has led. And as the process continues to play out without a decision, there's only one direction Oklahoma can move in the recruitment if they're perched at number one. They can only move down. And the more time you have on your hands to make something happen, if you're Baylor, Houston, or Florida, well, it's all the more time to convince Groce to move Oklahoma down his list.
We said a couple of weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago now, that Baylor would not be able to accommodate financially both Jordan Clay and Davian Groce. So just by process of what happened with Jordan Clay going to Baylor, can we eliminate Baylor in this scenario?
I don't think you can eliminate Baylor. And part of the reason is that a month ago, the belief was that Baylor had another four-star wideout from West Texas, Chase Campbell, lined up, ready to go. Like that was a commit that was going to pop in their favor. He came off the board yesterday to Texas Tech. And so, if you don't have Chase Campbell on the payroll in Waco, you may be able to make some...
This makes this situation a little different than we thought.
May be able to make some additional accommodations for a guy like Groce that maybe you couldn't if you had both Clay and Campbell already on the payroll. So, no, I'm not discounting Baylor. I'm not discounting Houston, man. Like, shoot, man, Keyshawn Henderson, Houston's 5-star quarterback commit, was sending out cryptic tweets earlier today that some interpreted as a sign that the Cougs are about to, out of nowhere, emerge to land Groce. I still think it's Oklahoma. To me, it's Oklahoma till it ain't. And we haven't gotten to the point where it ain't yet. But let's just hope this decision is made within the next 8 days. Because if this continues to drag out, I know for a fact, just talking to people on the Oklahoma end, they're ready for this thing to wrap up. I mean, they're starting to get a little bit miffed that it hasn't already, especially with the strong vibes that Groce has been giving to the Oklahoma staff for quite some time. So, the hope is that our boy Sam Spiegelman's on the money and that Groce's mom is on the money in passing along that intel, that he's going to commit before the end of the month. Because if not, man, it's going to be really, really annoying to just sit in this holding pattern for who knows how much longer. We're here with Kreul. We're here with Groce. We're here with T-Ron Richardson. At least we have a concrete finish line with Elijah Golden, who's really the only other uncommitted prospect that Oklahoma is in the mix for right now. He's going to commit on August 9th. It's looking like Notre Dame or Oklahoma for the 4-star defensive lineman out of the state of Florida. And then the 5th guy, and he's technically committed elsewhere right now, but Oklahoma just extended a new offer yesterday at linebacker, and we talked about it on yesterday's show. Jacob Curry from St. Augustine, Florida, who's committed to Northwestern as of now. So it's kind of the board for Oklahoma as it stands. 5 guys. 5 guys, only one of whom has a concrete decision date on the schedule, and we're just kind of in no man's land with everybody else. Okay, 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Got any questions you need answered on the OU football and recruiting front? Fire away. We'll dig into them and much more next on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it here.
Hey, Sooner fans, this is Jaron Kanik, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
For decades, Moore Norman Tech has been training skilled and dedicated individuals, giving clear career paths to hundreds of graduates a year. These passionate individuals are the heartbeat of the Oklahoma workforce, serving thousands of companies that fuel this state's economy. Individuals like you. Here's to the next generation of entrepreneurs, craftsmen, and go-getters who will shape the future of this state. Oklahoma is powered by Career Tech.
Feeling stuck in your current home? Now is the best time to make a move. Home Creations is making home ownership more affordable with low interest rate opportunities and special financing. Don't wait. Live like a champion today. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to find your dream home.
364-9999, it's Home Creations.
Hey Sooner fans, it's almost football season, and there's no better time to gear up than right now at Balfour of Norman, your locally owned headquarters for all things Sooner. Whether you're searching for your new lucky game day polo, tee, or hat, we've got you covered from top brands like Nike, Jordan, and Tommy Bahama. Looking to take your tailgate or watch party up a notch? Check out our great selection of OU glassware, flags, and serving pieces. Come support local, stock up on Sooner style, and get ready to yell Boomer Sooner, only at Balfour of Norman, where Sooner spirit lives year-round.
When you struggle with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, you get used to not feeling 100%. I thought that was how it had to be. Until I discovered the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. They told me about new medications that weren't around back when I was diagnosed. They helped me find a specialist who gave me a new treatment plan. I'm feeling better than I ever thought I could. Don't settle for not feeling your best. Take action today to take care of yourself. Spill your guts. Learn more at spillyourguts.org.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Maybe it was a family vacation or a school field trip. But there you were, standing in awe at a national park. We are the National Park Foundation, And together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Today, tomorrow, forever. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
My fiance is a veteran.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Hey, it's Mike Steele here for my friend Gary and the great staff at Cavens Group. After all the rain in the spring and now with temperatures on the rise, you might have a problem with mold growing in your home or business. Let the staff at Cavens help you before it becomes a major issue. Don't forget, Cavens can help you with water emergencies and biohazard cleanup 24 hours a day. Call Cavens today at 405-573-3048 or visit them online at cavensgroup.com.
It is locked in here on the Ref. Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton. One final segment with you before we turn things over to Tyler McComas and Teddy Lehman. Or is it Tyler and Travis today? I can never remember.
I think it's Tyler and Ted because one of them is at Riverwind.
Okay.
That's my guess. I have no clue.
I can never remember whether it's Wednesdays or Fridays that Travis is on.
It might.
I don't know why. I should know this, but I don't. Apologies. Apologies to Travis and to Ted for not knowing your respective schedules. It is a persistent struggle of mine and has been for a while. It is SEC Team Takeover Day for Mississippi State here on the Ref. SEC Team Takeovers are presented by Landers CDJR. When you choose Landers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram and Norman, you're not just getting a great vehicle, you're supporting a dealership that cares about the community. From reliable sedans to rugged trucks and spacious SUVs, they have the perfect vehicle to fit your needs and budget. Check them out at LandersCDJRNorman.com, where community and commitment drive us forward. On the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, I love this. Very simple but very effective text from Colin Salsa. One word, football. Yeah, please get it here, Kyle. We're 1 week away. I believe Oklahoma reports. I believe the team reports back for fall camp on July 30th. So we are 1 week away from officially getting back in the saddle, as it were. And KW in the 918 has a very interesting recruiting question. I wondered how long it was going to take for somebody to bring this up because this dropped last week, and we actually didn't talk about it a ton at the time, at least not as it pertains to recruiting. But KW asked, can you all explain how USC is $200 million in debt, but have the number one recruiting class in the NIL era and number 7 for money spent on their football roster? Make that make sense. I cannot, KW. I can't make it make sense. USC, look, and I don't know this for a fact. I don't know the Los Angeles market especially well. I don't claim to be a USC insider. But based on some of the behind-the-scenes conversations I've had with folks that are in the know on that end of things, here's the sense I've gotten. USC is spending a lot of money that it doesn't have. And if USC is indeed spending a lot of money that it doesn't have, what would you expect to happen with this recruiting class down the stretch?
It would dissipate.
Which is exactly what we saw a year ago. USC had 14 total decommitments in the 2025 class. That's pretty unheard of. It feels like a lot. And credit to Brent Venables and his staff for establishing this reality with their recruiting efforts. But it feels like a lot in a given class if Oklahoma loses 4 or 5 guys. In fact, I don't even know if they've lost 5 guys in a single cycle since Brent Venables got to town. Now, decommitments are so few and far between that outside of Jaden O'Neal just recently, who flipped to Florida State after Bo Bentley, or I guess pretty concurrently with Bo Bentley's commitment to Oklahoma. I don't know, could you recall offhand the most recent decommitment before that? I mean, offhand, I would say it would have to be Grayson / Marcus Harris in December. Up to, well, yeah, no, I understand. Like there were circumstances there that prompted Oklahoma to go a different direction from those two. They lost a commitment from Kamari Moore last cycle. They lost a commitment from Floyd Boucard. I'm trying to think if there were any others. So that's 4, and that felt like a lot. But for the last 7 months in Oklahoma, Jaden O'Neal is the only notable decommitment, unless there's something glaringly obvious that's staring me right in the face and I'm just missing it. But it is interesting to think that we haven't we haven't had the opportunity, we haven't had a reason to talk about quarterback recruiting in, over a month now? And boy, has that been nice. Because it felt like quarterback recruiting was a constant topic of discussion on this show for really the entirety of calendar year 2025, because Oklahoma offered Bo Bentley in January, and it was a will they, won't they type of conversation for months and months with both Bo Bentley and Jaden O'Neal. One, the other, both, neither. We got our answer last month. And I tell you, man, that is an aspect of Oklahoma's recruiting efforts in the 26 cycle that's going to enable them to close strong, I think, provided the wins come, because they have a quarterback who is all the way locked in. He's been active, going out, pursuing, developing relationships with his peers already. And elite skill position guys are going to want to be able to play with an elite quarterback like Bo Bentley, who is verifiably elite. Number 41 overall in the nation right now, according to Rivals. Knocking on the door of 5-star territory. And so I know folks don't necessarily love to think back on how it all played out in the 2023 cycle, because the central figure was a guy that kind of bombed at Oklahoma and is no longer around in Jackson Arnold. But part of the reason Oklahoma was able to have such success in piecing together what was on paper a very strong 2023 class was because Jackson Arnold was all the way locked in with the Sooners. He was helping lead the charge on the trail amongst his peers. And amidst the 6-7 season that was unfolding before everyone's eyes in the fall of 2022, Arnold never wavered. Despite reports you may have heard on other radio stations, not ours, that he was considering flipping to Notre Dame. That was a meme. You weren't around for that.
No, I was not.
That was a good, solid meme.
No. By the way, before we go any further, I have been instructed to tell the people that the Donuttery is going to have a truck outside of Mitchell's Jewelry today.
Ooh, the Donuttery?
Yes.
I love the Donuttery.
The best mini donuts I've ever had, man.
Dude, they're fantastic.
They're so good.
They're fantastic.
So yeah. No, go out to Mitchell's. They'll have a truck out there from 3 to 6, which I believe is where Tyler is today. And by the way, he is with Ted. Also, Hayes on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line before I weigh in on the USC situation. Will Conroy.
I completely looked past that one. There we go. Yeah.
Forgot Will
I mean,
Conroy.
and that kind of, that speaks to how inconsequential that was for Oklahoma. That we just kind of flat out forgot about it.
Going back to the USC thing, though, in terms of them spending a lot of money that we don't really know where it's coming from, does that not encapsulate college football's entire existence? Because we all talk about the dark money and that people have been getting money under the table for a long, long time. The operative word there is dark. Because in the world of college football, not everything in college football has been based on the operation of revenue generating. Think of like donors and stuff like that. Also, there's been a ton of money where we don't know where it comes from and who's supplying it and who's giving it to who. It may not be dark money anymore, but it's still unknown money. So there is that factor to go into this conversation in terms of USC's money.
A listener in Texas says, USC is going into debt without any concerns. Mark my words, they will be the first program to enter into a private equity partnership. That level of debt means nothing to a PE deal. Watch. You know what?
That's not a terrible take.
Not far-fetched.
Nope.
And as a matter of fact, boy, wouldn't that track with everything USC is and has done?
If there's one program that would do something like that, USC would probably be one of the first three, I would guess.
There's not more of a private equity coach in the country than Lincoln Riley. Come on.
Yep.
That's a very good point by that listener. Another listener on the text line says, well, you got to have actual commits in order to have decommits. Come on, guys. Oklahoma's got a real healthy class of 15 guys right now in the 2026 cycle. Would you like that class to be a little bit larger? Sure, okay, that's fair. I mean, there are certainly guys that Oklahoma hasn't gotten that you would have preferred for them to get. It's not what it could be, certainly. But this class, looking at the talent they're in and what Oklahoma still has the opportunity to add down the stretch, you pick up Davian Groce, especially if it happens before the end of the month. I mean, that's huge. But you get to 16 with Davian Groce, presumably. That right there, if you're looking at that class, that's a B class to me. B minus. B minus type of class with Groce. Then it becomes about how can you close, especially in the trenches, the offensive and defensive lines, and at wide receiver. I'm also curious to see where Oklahoma turns at safety, because they offered another linebacker when that wasn't necessarily at the top of the bingo board, but they have only one safety commit in Nico Jandro. They missed out on a guy that everybody and their cousin thought they were landing in Jacob Eberhardt, who settled on Illinois at the 11th hour. And so I shouldn't say I halfway expected Oklahoma to go offer another safety by this point. I fully expected Oklahoma to go offer another safety by this point, and they haven't done it.
Is that concerning to you that they haven't done that?
Man, I don't know that it's concerning because, again, you're talking about Brandon Hall, who is probably the position coach on staff that more so than anybody else has earned the benefit of the doubt since the day he showed up. So I don't question that there is a plan. Now, what that plan is, I am not at all sure of. What's interesting is I know for a fact they've kept in touch with Eberhardt for so many reasons. I don't think that flip would happen. But they've kept in touch with Eberhardt. The portal is always there as a recourse if you need to utilize it. I wonder at this point if Oklahoma is just waiting for a late riser at that position in the fall, because there will be late risers. There always are. And that's not necessarily a guy that plays himself onto Power 4 radars for the very first time, not necessarily a guy that nobody has ever heard of, and then all of a sudden he's out there balling out as a senior, picking up 20, 25 new offers. It may just be a guy that, based on his junior tape, looked like a G5 guy, and then he gets out on the field for his senior year, and all of a sudden he looks like a P4 guy. That's another thing that happens. And frankly, I genuinely prefer for Oklahoma to have a little bit of wiggle room for guys like that going into a given football season. I haven't been a huge fan in the past of Oklahoma going into the football season with their entire class seemingly put together. That's kind of how it was last cycle. Michael Fasusi committed in mid-August, and, well, that was kind of it. There's nobody else really on the radar at that point, nobody else that Oklahoma was pushing for, to my recollection. There may have been a couple other guys that were uncommitted that they were willing to take, but not necessarily betting the farm on. I like a dynamic in which Oklahoma goes into football season with space left in the class for maybe 2 or 3 late risers, either guys that weren't on FBS radars at all or guys that were G5 level players after their junior year but end up rising to the P4 level based on what they put on tape as seniors. So I like it. I'm comfortable with it. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Keep filling it up so that Tyler and Ted have lots of subject matter when they get in the studio to handle the rush on the other side. But that's it for us here on Locked In. Grayson, Singleton, and I will see you once again tomorrow. Same time, same place for more OU football and recruiting talk.